Welcome to Uncanny X Minutes, where we bring you the comics behind the movies. I'm Sasha.
I'm producer James.
And we're here to talk about minutes 70 through 80 of X-Men First Class? Yes.
That's the one.
That's what it is. I was like, in my head, I'm like, it feels so short. It feels like it should be a longer title after doing like X-Men, Origins, Wolverine, like,
Last Stand United. Yeah. Would you like to know what happens?
Yes, please.
All right. Professor X and Magneto show up to the First Class Aftermath. The Cuban Missile Crisis is kind of getting put into place, and we get a training montage.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis never... it's just so fun when they do like real life history events, and they're just like, but it was mutants the whole time.
Right behind it.
Anyway.
Yeah, but then the problem with that is now that's my canon, like in world history.
Yeah, is that like it was Sebastian Shaw.
It's the Hellfire Club, which exists in the real world. We have already discussed.
Yes, so allegedly.
So the Hellfire Club is behind. No, it is. I saw a movie about it.
Anyway, but yeah, it's definitely a weird.
Are you worried that Hellfire Club's going to come after us?
I actually am. I'm afraid of lawsuits. Yes, sir.
No one should listen to me.
Oh, gosh.
Not about real things. Jeez, I only know fake things.
Exactly. Like X-Men. And the fake thing that we're going to talk about today is Havok.
Havok's real.
God, I hope not. All right.
This messy fella.
He's so messy.
Oh, he's so messy.
He's the Summers brother. It's in their nature.
He is the younger. So it's Scott is the oldest.
Yes.
Then we have Alex, a.k.a. Havok, is the younger brother. And for the longest time, that's all that existed.
There used to only be two brothers.
And then we got that lovely retcon from like a few weeks back where we talked about Gabriel Summers, a.k.a. Vulcan.
Yes.
There was like this weird dropped, like if you're looking at the just original family line of Summers brothers, there's like some weird dropped thread about Adam X the Extreme.
Yes.
Where it's, correct me if I'm wrong, he is a clone made from Scott and Alex's mother and some Shi'ar. Was it D'Ken, maybe?
Yes, I think so.
Mad Emperor D'Ken. And then he was created. So he's like a half-brother in clone?
Yeah. Listen,
don't worry about that one. That one never. That's never a thing.
It's really not. And also, like, it was complicated. There were some retcons going on. This was an era where like there was like a shadowy figure was like X-Man, and like it just, they dropped it. They went in a different direction. So he's not an official Summers brother, but it was supposed to be the third one. We get Vulcan later.
Yeah.
So
Adam X the Extreme, you should totally look up because he is the 90s definition of extreme. He's got blades everywhere, backwards hat, goatee, braids with X's in them.
Yeah, I mean,
did he ride a skateboard? I feel like he rode a skateboard. Maybe I'm making that up.
He snowboarded, I think.
Is that what it was?
I think there was a scene with him snowboarding.
His powers have to do something with blood. I don't know. So he has blades to draw blood. He's something.
He's boring. Anyway, I don't care about Adam X.
I just need to bring him up if we're talking about Summers brothers.
Yes, because he is not really counted, but
he's on a branch that fell off the tree.
Yeah, he's like, there's like some sort of weird Shi'ar stuff going on. Not to be confused with the weird Shi'ar stuff that's going on with Vulcan, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it was there a couple of weeks back.
Yeah. So in any case, Alex Summers, known as Havok, has been around for a long time. Like really long time.
I mean, it's one of those, I love like Silver Age comics where you don't really delve into anyone, it's like, oh, here are your X-Men, and then really not much about them, and then they pepper them in like, oh, here are Jean's parents, they're early, it's not a big deal, here's Beast's parents, whatever, and then it's all of a sudden 50 something. What's his first appearance?
65. His first appearance is 50 something. Hold on, I should have written that down.
It's 54. He shows up for the first time.
Yeah.
And for Cyclops to all of a sudden have a brother 54 issues in seems kind of crazy.
Kind of, but if
like,
you
I mean, it is the
remember,
time.
they're also at the school too, where their families aren't around.
Yeah.
I mean, and once he gets introduced, he officially joins the X-Men in issue 65.
Okay.
So, like, they basically put him in there to be another X-Men character.
Because him and Polaris, who we've talked about a few times, they are on the team when Giant Size happens.
Yes, they are.
So, like, do with that what you will. So they are sort of the they're part of the pre-Claremont crew.
Yes, they are. And it's like they're like they're also working for Trask. Like there's a period before he's even on the X-Men where Havok is working. He's been like kind of bullied into working for Trask, and that's how he meets Polaris, because he's kind of saving her and they're trying to escape, and then the X-Men come. But yeah, that's all before the Claremont Giant X-Men. And in fact, actually in X-Men 94, when you have the big team, that's actually when Havok and Polaris leave. So they were kind of the two. Havok was a character that they were like, they threw in at 65, and by 94 they were like, actually we're going with these new X-Men, so we don't need Havok anymore.
Never mind.
The story of Havok is really just that.
Let's be honest, that's kind of how it feels like in this movie too. Like they almost wanted a Cyclops, but they couldn't have Cyclops, or they didn't want to use him.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So they went with his older brother, even though in the comics he's the younger brother.
Right. It's strange.
Put that in your hat. It doesn't matter, but it does.
Yeah. And I think it works better in the comics because, so there are a couple of core characteristics that accompany Alex Summers. The primary one of which is that he got an inferiority complex about his brother.
Which is what makes him a good younger brother than an older brother.
Exactly. So it's weird to see him be cast as the older brother in that situation. Like, sibling rivalry can go both ways.
Sure.
But it's nice and clean when it's a younger brother versus an older brother, right? And
especially when your older brother is the leader of the X-Men.
Right. I always bring up these runs because I'm like the biggest Peter David fangirl runs of all time. But in the X Factor run where they have the psychological examinations with Dr. Samson.
Yes.
So at this time during X Factor, Havok is running this team. We'll get to that in a second. But the important part is what he says when he is getting there's like kind of everybody goes through like a psychological conversation with Dr. Sampson. So when he's prompted to talk about his brother and asked if he loves his brother, and he's like, well, what's not to love? I'm a little jealous, sure, because he commands respect and I have to work my butt off for it. I always feel like I'm playing catch up with him. I've been tense and attached, but I'm trying to stay two steps ahead of everyone just so I don't screw up. So I think that really encompasses the character of Havok, especially for the majority of the time that he's been in the comic books. It's changed a little bit recently. But Scott Summers, as much as we complain, or as much as I complain, let's be fair, you don't complain.
I like Cyclops a bit more.
Yes, I do too, actually. I don't dislike Cyclops, but like he is definitely more of a natural leader when it comes to the X-Men.
Yeah.
And Havok isn't. And so he works really hard, and he gets put in charge of a lot of crews. Has a lot of people under his charge quite frequently. And it's generally a struggle for him.
In the most recent, is it X Factor again? Yeah, I think it's the new X Factor run. He is in charge of X Factor again. But it's more like Ecstatics, where it's like a very popular team, not like popular team, like they're a team in the media's eye is what I'll say.
Sure. That makes sense because when he's running X Factor, this is before Multiple Man takes over and turns it into that like private eye. He's running it with the Val Cooper and the government. So, and we all know how I feel about Val Cooper, that snake. And
it's always part of her name.
It's Val Cooper, that snake.
Yeah.
So Havok is kind of running this team of mutants that's working with Valerie Cooper, like, so with the government, but also it's a period of time where the government is like generally hostile. It's a relatively complicated, weird position for them to be in. They're kind of like representatives of mutants in the government, but the government is like using them for messy situations. It's a different kind of X Factor than we get later. It's much more like X-Force, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
that is the team that I would say he is most frequently in charge of, is some sort of X Factor team.
Yeah.
The other thing about Havok that the movie actually does get correct is that he struggles with his powers.
Oh, okay.
So there are...
I don't know why that felt like a fake thing. Not like a made up thing for the movie. Like, he needs to overcome something, so let's give him no control over his powers.
Yeah, I definitely. I can see how that would come off that way. He lacks control over his powers, and the reasons are kind of fuzzy depending on like what period of time we're talking about. So originally, as we all know, if you've sat through our Sinister episodes and our Cyclops episode, is that Cyclops was in an orphanage after his parents, he thought they died. We know now that
they jumped out of a plane going down.
Right.
That his father was piloting. He jumps out of with one parachute with him and his brother.
Yeah, with
so
the boys.
They assumed that the plane crashes, and they just assume they died in it.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
Yeah, they did not.
Shi'ar.
The Shi'ar kind of took them for human experiments. We don't worry about
Disco
that.
Space Pirate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll get to Corsair later, but
I don't know when, but we will.
We will. I love him too much to not to. But the all of that to say, when they go to the orphanage, they go together. But Sinister sends Alex away because when they fall from that parachute, it's Cyclops's optical blast that saves them. As an older sibling, his powers, manifest earlier. So Sinister, trying to make Cyclops vulnerable, sends Havok away to be adopted by a different family, which is miserable for a bunch of other reasons or whatever. But he starts to get powers. But Sinister finds out about it and then mind wipes them. So he doesn't know. So there are periods of time really early on where Sinister is not only just messing with Cyclops, he's always got his fingers in a summer's pie somewhere and
just loves them summers.
He really does. And so he also has this effect on Havok as well, because he's also monitoring him while he's been separated from his brother, and before they reunite later in the comics, right before Havok becomes an X-Man. The suit thing is not exactly the same. I think the comic book one is kind of goofier looking. It has these ribbons and a weird helmet. So
he does have a weird helmet.
So I think that they definitely changed it for the movie.
So because in the X Factor run you're talking about, it's his there are two main looks he has. He has the black suit with the goofy helmet, and then he's got the Gambit headdress looking thing with the jacket.
It's not that jacket. It's
Right.
Yeah.
When he switches looks, does he have more control at that point?
I would need to know exactly what issue you're talking about.
I just meant the change between, because if the helmet's helping him use his powers, he doesn't wear that in the X Factor run.
So it's also the bodysuit, which is why
is that
sometimes
what it is? Okay.
Yeah, so that's sometimes why I'm confused. And also he is there are points where he's controlled his powers, but then because of possessions and things like that, which we'll get to very shortly, he then will lose control of his powers for long periods of time. So he's kind of
he's up and down.
Okay,
it's not as black and white as multiple man who needed an outfit for it the whole time.
And then he doesn't. Yeah, no, Alex has not needed the outfit for a long period of time and then needed it again.
Okay.
So it leaves it a little fuzzy sometimes with him. But I will say, primarily the situation occurs because he's constantly being possessed. Alex Summers is constantly being possessed. And honestly, looking at the time, we quite frankly don't have that much time to talk about it. But I will say
Polaris also does.
Polaris does too.
And they're a couple often.
Yes.
So do with that what you will.
And possessed by the same person, particularly Malice.
Yes,
in that situation, we don't have to go into it. It's a bad guy that possesses people and leads to a lot of breakup between Polaris and Alex Summers. In fact, I would actually say Alex Summers, similarly to Cyclops, has two women in particular that he is frequently tied with. The first is Polaris, like we talked about, Mistress of Magnetism. And the second... Lorna Dane.
If you want.
And the second, which we've done an episode on, and the second is the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor. And you might be saying, but Stasha, wait a minute. I listened to your Cyclops episode. And what I know is that Madeline Pryor is Scott's, well, now ex-wife, but also mother to his child, Cable. And to that, I would say yes.
And clone of Jean Grey.
Yes, that is the case.
So you're telling me that Havok, brother of Cyclops,
Yes.
is often sometime on and off relationship with Cyclops's baby mama,
Yes.
/ ex-wife,
Yes.
/ clone of current wife.
Yes, I am saying that.
Okay.
And it's
I do enjoy last week when I was like, oh, the next week's going to be about Havok. And we went on a tirade for about 20 minutes just about like that, how soap opera,
yes,
how comic book soap opera that is.
I think this is why Havok has such a like lovely place in my heart, because he truly,
Because he's so messy,
encapsulates the soap of X-Men. And it's true. And not only is he like frequently with her, but like he is frequently like her enabler. He is also known as, so Alex Summers, he's also known as Havok, also known as the Goblin Prince.
Yeah, he is.
Because when she is the Goblin Queen, he's usually riding or dying with her. And I'm going to be completely honest about that. Inferno, the original Inferno, there's 2 of them now.
Yep.
Well, there might be 3. There's at least 2 of them now.
Oh, I think there might be 3. Anyway,
Yeah.
the original
Inferno.
Yeah.
The original Inferno, it happens like right after Madeline Pryor and aka the Goblin Queen and Alex Havok are getting together. Like they like their relationship does not start very long before the events of Inferno and her Goblin Queen and her trying to reanimate inanimate objects and take over New York and the world. And
if you've seen X-Men 97, there's a whole episode.
There's a whole thing about it. And Havok really has this trend of dating women, I would say when they're at their worst, really. Madeline Pryor, whenever she's Goblin Queen, you can usually find Alex around. Even in the new run, I didn't think they were going to do it, but in the new post-Krakoa...
Dark X-Men in the Fall of X storyline, they went right back
to Alex Summers and Madeline Pryor. And let me tell you, that was the correct choice. They belong together when she's the Goblin Queen. And Alex also has like a very weird, like soft boy, like golden retriever vibe in that one that I actually quite like.
Yeah, he definitely does.
So if that sounds appealing to you in any way, I would suggest it. But it is a very strange run.
Yeah.
It's short too.
I don't remember... I didn't reread it for this episode, but he also ends up being a little broken in the Hellions run during Krakoa, where he is running a ragtag bunch. Like, he's the leader again, but it's like a bunch of mutants who are kind of on the brink of getting into the pit, I'll say. Like they're all a little broken, and he also is.
He doesn't like people in his head. He has he struggles, and so and also he's got that inferiority complex. There's just a lot going on psychologically with Alex frequently that leads to a lot of rough runs with him in it. If somebody's putting Havok in a run, you're like, okay, we're gonna do something, with the exception if there's a Goblin Queen, because I think they still kind of do, but generally he gets a little bit of a different brush. Some other things about Alex that we should talk about is he is also the center of my least favorite plot in X-Men of all time. So, James, what do you know about Genosha?
I mean, we've talked about it a few times on the show. It's a mutant nation.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when it wasn't a mutant nation?
Oh, yeah. Before it was a mutant nation, it was literally the opposite.
Yes. It was a world where mutants were literally enslaved. They turned mutants into what was known as mutates. And if you see that word, sometimes it still floats around. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on. So Alex goes to Genosha because he's lost his memory. He's been mind wiped. We're not going to get into why. It happens enough where it's not relevant. And he becomes basically like a magistrate. So he becomes like a kind of higher up oppressor of mutants in Genosha. during that period of time, and I believe I talked about this when we did our Wolfsbane episode, is when we find a retcon in X Factor in that Peter David run. We find the information that she was imprinted with the master-slave relationship with Alex Summers. So mutates get assigned a magistrate, blah, blah, blah. This is a huge reveal because for a lot of issues leading up to it, when they're all in X Factor together, she is really jealous of Polaris. She's like really flirty, and also like they discover this because she has like her hormones, quote unquote, have gone into overdrive, and she's like flirting with other people too. And so they're like trying to figure out what's wrong with her. Moira McTaggart is.
Okay.
It is a weird choice. They're like trying to find, she like ends up leaving X Factor so she can try to find a solution with Moira. Like she has to go back because being apart from him is physically painful.
Oh no.
Okay. So I would like to remind the audience that Wolfsbane sounds familiar. Yeah, because she was one of the New Mutants. She's significantly younger than Havok. Yep. Right? Havok has been around since Silver Age.
In this run,
yeah,
she is still significantly younger.
Yeah.
Because sometimes ages get a little...
No. They literally make a joke. Strong Guy talks about like when they're like, oh, we should get Cable, because they're like talking about hunting Cable down. This is some Strife stuff, so we won't get into that. But he says, oh, we're getting Cable, we're going to get this channel and Disney Channel for Rain. For Wolfsbane, because she's so young.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
And like, it's not a good thing. It is not reciprocated by Alex in any way. He's actively dating Polaris at this period of time.
Yeah,
but it is a very weird thing, and it's also weird thing for Rain too, because she's like, I actually am not consenting to liking this guy. I've been master slave imprinted with Alex Summers.
Yikes.
Yeah. So. And I will have to say that does happen at the Peter David run. So I've been like praising a lot of the multiple man run. This is in the previous run. I don't love that plot thing.
No,
I think it makes a more of a mess than it really needed to. But that's the kind of soap that people will put Alex Summers in the middle of.
Yeah,
like that is kind of, you see him in some sort of mess, and you're like, okay.
I mean, we talked about it with Polaris, where he left her at the altar.
Yes.
To be with a nurse who was also in love with Bobby, maybe? Iceman? There was like, Iceman was also involved.
So there's actually been a long going feud with Iceman, because Iceman has also liked Polaris and Annie, the nurse. Uh-huh. So they have fights early on in the kind of like the Silver Age when he ends up with Polaris, and then when they join the X-Men, Bobby's upset about it because he liked Polaris and he was trying to flirt with her. And then when he's supposed to be getting married to Polaris, but he's already fallen in love with Annie, the nurse, while he lost his memory and blah, blah, blah. She was his nurse. That's when Bobby is flirting with Annie. And then he dumps Polaris as she's walking down the aisle to be with Annie.
Messy boy.
Yes. All of that to say, Alex doesn't have his head on straight, okay? I will say the writers portray Polaris as pretty badly during that run, because she chases them down to Paris and like, all this, it's a nonsense or whatever. Like she's like on a venge. She's like trying to beat up Annie, who, by the way, again, not a mutant in any capacity, not a superhero. She's just a nurse.
That's
yes, she does have a mutant son, Carter, but he is a literal child. She's just a normal person, and Polaris is literally chasing them around the globe to hunt her down.
Okay.
And it's not a great look, right? Like she should be running around the globe hunting Alex Summers down.
Yeah, right.
Would be I mean, she is doing that too, but the writing on that is a little bit rough. I think Alex gets a little too of a nice writer's like bump. It's like he's just following his heart. He's romantic. Yeah. I would say that maybe not most, but I would say in my reading of it, you kind of read those a little differently. You're like, Alex is kind of a scumbag.
That also might fall into the it was a of the era sort of thing
absolutely.
too, where it's like, oh, if something like that, you would blame the woman, not the man,
right?
You know, so
yeah.
like, well, the man's not 100% at fault; he's following his heart, you know, like
right.
you're just saying,
yeah.
Where it's like, what? No,
yeah, like mind you,
it would read different today. I feel like,
yeah, I mean, like Alex, yeah, there was a woman that I think that looks like Annie, that is at his like bachelor party that Cyclops brought.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so that's how he knows. And then he waits till she's walking down the literal aisle to say something. Bro.
Messy.
But it's a soap opera. That's when you would do it, right?
Yes,
so
of
I
course.
am like, again,
peak drama.
The character is both simultaneously beloved and hated, and I hate his actions because he's usually making the wrong ones, but beloved and because that this is the soap follows Alex no matter where he goes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun because like we talked about with the psychologist, like he is almost self-aware of it.
Yeah.
Like he knows that he like everybody's constantly disappointed in him. He knows that like he lets people down. He knows that he has this inferiority complex to his brother because he's not as good as Cyclops, and like it's like he makes all these mistakes and is like painfully aware of it, which like kind of makes him likable, right? Like in some ways, right? You're like, you know that he wants to do better. It just doesn't always work out for him.
Nah, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. I mean, that's like, is there any other questions you have for me about
Alex
that you're curious about?
Let me look at what Google. I've sometimes pull up the Google questions for what other people ask.
He did turn Sauron into the pterodactyl.
He turned Sauron into a pterodactyl?
Because Sauron was trying to like suck the energy out of him, and he had so much, he was like overpowered or whatever, it turned him into the pterodactyl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are Havok and Cyclops brothers? Yes.
They are.
They are. The next one is, what is Havok's power? It's what you see in the movie. It's like plasmoid. It's usually drawn in circles, just like energy
concentric.
blasts.
Yeah.
Little fun fact you might notice in some of the comics: Cyclops and Havok's powers don't work on each other.
They don't. That is correct.
And it is often a plot point, or not a plot point, but they'll fight and they'll be like, you know, my power doesn't work on you.
Yes.
Or yours doesn't work on me. I just love what happened to Havok in the X-Men. I don't know what that's referring to.
He gets disappeared for a while. Like when he's in Genosha, like I think he's out of the comics for a while, and it's like they remembered him, and then he's like his mind has been wiped, and he's like a magistrate. It's like this horrifying plot point. Yeah. So yeah, he kind of can disappear.
I mean, that's what happened to him.
That's
at one time.
Yeah.
Why did Havok turn evil? Mind control.
Which time?
I love Google. I love Google questions because it's like when somebody has so many years of backstory, it's like, which time, bro?
What are we talking about?
So it happens, and I think you did answer a lot of the questions.
I'm glad. There's so much. I had to pick and choose so carefully.
Well, like we said, number 53. Like he's been around forever.
He's around forever. I would say. I think that he is pretty hard to like, though, in a lot of the older issues. Yeah. I think that he is much more charming when we hit, like, not all of, but some of, at least, of the 2000s era. Like, when he breaks up with Lorna that time, they're on good terms. They're like, they just want different things. He wants to leave X Factor. She doesn't. Yeah. He ends up being, like, in Dark X-Men, when he's with Madeline, he just, like, is in love with her. Yeah. And like
the golden lab there.
Yeah. And so he's pretty charming in that too. And he's always generally there, even in some of the like the crossovers, like unless he's fighting Scott for any particular reason, like a lot of times you'll see him show up and he's there defending mutants, he's defending the X-Men. Like he's involved, but not like always the main character unless they're doing something with the Summers in some capacity.
Does he have much, because like Cyclops has a quite the relationship with Corsair, his father. Does Havok ever like run into Corsair ever?
Yes, absolutely.
Do they get drama between the two of them, or at least like do they get to chat?
Yeah, they do. And there's actually a little bit of the run. Oh my gosh, I can't remember what the name of that run is. It's not X Factor, I don't think. But it's like in some side issues where you kind of see a little bit of relationship between Havok and his dad, and it's like he is supposed to tell his dad about this battle that he lost, and like some bad things went down, and you see him talking about how much he's dreading. He's like, whenever I like go, I can tell that I'm telling him bad news, and he's always disappointed in me. And like that, I would say, is probably not actually true, but it is emblematic of how he feels about Corsair. Corsair is obviously like their dad. There's definitely drama between like him being a little bit jealous of that relationship, because I don't think he finds out about Corsair until after Scott does. And I think Scott, that. And I'm pretty sure, and I wish I could remember this, I'll have to like double check this, but I'm pretty sure Scott keeps it from him for some time, and he's not happy about it.
No.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I've got for you. That's about Havok. There's so much.
That's all we can talk about for now.
That's really, I think, what it is. If anything else super relevant pops up, I'm happy to talk about it. But I hope we got a little taste of like what Alex is. He's sad. He's a sad boy.
I pointed out last week to you, and it all happens in the last 10 minutes we watched. In this movie, it feels like there's a drop plot line between him and Darwin.
Yes, I saw that too, and I agree. I think like, that there was clearly a relationship
They're
there.
playing pinball. And now this might be me reading into this movie that I've seen probably a few too many times. They're playing pinball. Azazel comes to attack. And before they realize what's going on, Darwin goes to check it out. And there's this like really gentle caress like across Havok's abdomen that like feels very gentle, like they are comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And when Darwin almost dies, he stops Havok. There is a shot of Darwin putting his hand out and saying no, and then the reverse shot of Havok reacting to it, which we've never seen them interact short of this scene right here. So I feel like there's deleted scenes here
I think
somewhere.
you're right. I watched that with you. I was like, really? Because I didn't remember that. And then when we watched the scenes together, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's definitely what
like
that
it's
is.
100% there. They also have the plan like to try saving Angel,
right?
Where Darwin and him just kind of tussle a little bit, and then he goes, Alex, now. And then he goes all Havok.
Like they've been talking.
So it's like they are close somehow, but we didn't get to see any of it.
No, we've talked about the disappointment about Darwin dying in this movie, and that's just another reason why it was disappointing.
Yeah. It would have been even more heartbreaking if we knew they were maybe flirting with each other or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I'm Sasha.
I'm producer James.
And we'll see you for the next 10.